Hey, Vikings faithful. Skull Nation, rise up. It's time to talk some serious Minnesota Vikings news straight from the NFL owners' meetings. Picture this. Palm Beach, Florida, the sun's shining, and our head coach Kevin O'Connell is dropping bombshells that got every fan buzzing. What's the teaser of the day? It's all about a sneaky free agent signing that's got our defensive genius Brian Flores grinning ear to ear. And trust me, when Flores is excited, we should be too. So here's the hook. O'Connell stepped up to the mic on Tuesday morning, facing a swarm of reporters, and spilled the tea on one of our newest Vikings warriors. We're talking about a cornerback who might just be the steal of the offseason, a guy who's got Flores' seal of approval. And if you know anything about our defensive coordinator, that's like getting a gold star from the football gods. Curious yet? Stick with me because this is about to get good. The Vikings have been on a roll building something special over the past 3 years, and this latest move is another piece of the puzzle. From the front office to the coaching staff, this organization is firing on all cylinders, and today we're diving into why this under-the-radar signing could be a game-changer for our defense in 2025. Let's break it down, scene by scene, and get hyped together, because this is Minnesota Vikings football. Baby, let's set the stage. It's the NFL owners' meetings, where the big dogs of football gather to talk shop, and our very own Kevin O'Connell is holding court. The man's got that cool, confident vibe we've come to love, and on Tuesday he faced the media with answers that had Vikings fans like me jumping out of our seats. The topic? A free agent addition that's flying under the radar but could make waves in purple and gold. Enter Isaiah Rodgers, the former Philadelphia Eagles cornerback who signed with the Vikings during the legal tampering period. This wasn't some splashy, headline-grabbing move. No, this was the first domino to fall in free agency. A 2-year deal worth up to $15 million with incentives. It's the kind of signing that doesn't scream superstar at first glance. But hold up. There's a reason this move has us pumped, and it starts with one name, Brian Flores. O'Connell didn't mince words when he talked about Rodgers. He said, and I quote, Isaiah was a guy that Flo identified pretty early. That's right, our defensive mastermind, the guy who's turned our defense into a relentless machine, handpicked this dude. When Flores talks, we listen, and when he's got that tone in his voice about a player, you better believe something special is brewing. What's Flores seeing that we haven't yet? Let's dig deeper. All right, Vikings fans, let's talk about why this Isaiah Rodgers signing is pure Minnesota Vikings magic. Picture O'Connell at the podium, a sly grin on his face, as he dishes out the details. I've been doing this long enough with Flo, but once he has that tone in his voice about guys, he's been pretty darn accurate. That's not just coach speak. That's a glowing endorsement from a guy who knows talent when he sees it. Flores has a track record that's straight up legendary. Think about Josh Metellus. Before he became a defensive stud for us, Flores saw something in him, pushed for an extension, and now Metellus is a cornerstone. Rodgers fits that same mold. A player with untapped potential, ready to explode under Flores' guidance. At 27, he's got experience. 9 starts with the Colts in 2022, and a hunger to prove himself after a year sidelined by a gambling suspension in 2023. So why Rodgers? O'Connell called him an every-down, impact guy, which means he's not just here to fill a roster spot, he's here to ball out. Opposite Byron Murphy Jr., Rodgers could lock down the boundary, giving Flores the flexibility to unleash his chaotic, aggressive schemes. Vikings faithful, are you feeling the hype yet? Drop a skull in the comments if you're ready to see this guy in purple. Let's rewind the tape for a sec. Isaiah Rodgers isn't a household name yet, but that's what makes this Vikings news so juicy. This guy was a playoff hero for the Eagles last year, stepping up during their run to Super Bowl 59, but he wasn't a full-time starter in Philly. Now, in Minnesota, he's got a fresh shot to shine, and it all ties back to Flores' eagle eye for talent. O'Connell didn't just stumble into this signing, it was calculated. He said Flores pegged Rodgers pretty early as a free agent target, which tells me our defensive coordinator was watching film, breaking down plays, and seeing something the rest of the league missed. Maybe it's Rodgers' speed, his knack for pressing receivers, or his ability to cover across the field. Whatever it is, Flores is betting big, and his bets usually pay off. Here's where it gets fun. Rodgers isn't walking into a bare cupboard. With Murphy Jr. holding it down as a Pro Bowler in 2024, Plus young guns like Mekhi Blackmon and Dwight McGlothern, our cornerback room is stacked with potential. But Rodgers? He's got the inside track to replace Stephon Gilmore's role from last year. Vikings fans, what do you think? Can he step up and own it? Let's hear your takes. Time to geek out, Vikings Nation. Let's talk film. I went back and watched Rodgers' tape after he signed, and let me tell you, this dude fits our defense like a glove. He's got that quick twitch athleticism, the kind of burst that lets him stick with receivers step for step. Whether it's man coverage or jumping routes in zone, Rodgers brings the juice we need at cornerback. Flores loves versatile players, and Rodgers checks that box. He can press at the line, disrupt timing, and cover the field sideline to sideline. Perfect for the aggressive, mix-and-match style our DC runs. Pair that with O'Connell's confidence in him as an every-down guy, and you've got a player who could feast in our system, especially with Flores pulling the strings. Now, imagine this: 3rd and long, the opposing QB drops back, and Rodgers is shadowing their top receiver. Flores dials up a blitz, the pocket collapses, and bam! Rodgers jumps the route for a pick-six. That's the dream, right? Vikings fans, tell me in the comments, what's your bold prediction for Rodgers in 2025? Let's get wild with it. Let's zoom out for a minute, because this signing isn't just about Rodgers, it's about the Minnesota Vikings' big picture. Over the past 3 years, this organization has gone from good to great, and it's thanks to moves like this. O'Connell, Flores, and GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah are building a roster that's deep, talented, and hungry. Sound familiar? Skol Nation? The Rodgers deal, 2 years, $11 million base, up to $15 million with incentives, screams value. It's not breaking the bank, but it's a bet on upside, the kind of smart gamble that's defined our offseason. Flores saw the same spark in Rodgers that he saw in Metellus, and if that's not a reason to get excited, I don't know what is. This is Vikings football at its finest. Finding diamonds in the rough and turning them into stars. So where does Rodgers fit in the grand scheme? O'Connell sees him as a starter, potentially opposite Murphy Jr., but Flores defenses don't play static. Expect Rodgers to move around, creating chaos. Vikings fans, are we sleeping on this guy? Or is he about to wake up the NFL? Hit me with your thoughts. I'm reading every comment. Alright, let's talk about the man behind the plan, Brian Flores. This guy's a defensive wizard, and when he says, "I want this player," you don't question it, you celebrate it. O'Connell basically said it himself. Flores' track record is pretty darn accurate, and that's putting it mildly. From Metellus to Harrison Smith's resurgence, Flores knows how to unlock talent. Rodgers is the latest name on that list, and the story's just beginning. O'Connell hinted that Flores' excitement was palpable. Imagine him pacing the war room, pointing at film, saying, "This is our guy." That's the kind of passion that fuels this team, and it's why we trust him to mold Rodgers into a difference maker. Vikings news like this gets my blood pumping. How about you? Here's the kicker. Rodgers isn't a sure thing yet. He's got to earn it in training camp, battling Okudah, Blackmon, and the rest. But with Flores in his corner, I'd bet on him rising to the occasion. Skol Nation, do you think Rodgers locks down a starting spot by week 1? Drop your predictions below. Let's debate it. Let's flip the script and talk about Kevin O'Connell for a sec. Our head coach isn't just a quarterback whisperer, he's got an eye for roster building too. At the owners' meetings, he didn't just hype Rodgers, he gave us a peek into the Vikings' brain trust. When he says Flores' instincts are spot on, it's a nod to the synergy that's driving this team forward. O'Connell's all about fit, and Rodgers fits the profile of recent Vikings cornerbacks. Young, athletic, and versatile. Think about it, Byron Murphy Jr., Mekhi Blackmon, now Rodgers, all guys who can adapt to Flores' schemes. It's not about splashy names. It's about players who buy in and ball out. That's the Minnesota Vikings way, and O'Connell's steering the ship. So what's the vibe from the top? Confidence. O'Connell's words oozed belief in Flores and Rodgers, and that's contagious. Vikings fans, how much faith do you have in this coaching duo? Are we talking Super Bowl vibes yet? Let's get that conversation rolling in the comments. Time to get real, Vikings faithful. Rodgers isn't a finished product. He's got a gambling suspension in his past, 2023, and limited starts last year with the Eagles, just 3. But here's the thing. Adversity builds character, and the Vikings saw enough in him to pounce. That's what makes this signing so intriguing. It's a leap of faith with massive upside. Flores doesn't care about your resume, he cares about what you can do now. Rodgers showed flashes in Philly, especially in the playoffs, and that's what caught Flores' eye. A year ago, he was on the sidelines. Now, he's got a shot to be a cornerstone for a contender. Vikings news doesn't get more dramatic than that. Don't you love a good redemption arc? Here's the question. Can Rodgers handle the pressure? Minnesota's not Philly, he'll be expected to step up, not just fill in. Skull Nation, what's your gut telling you? Does he thrive under Flores, or does he need more time? Hit me with your hot takes. I'm all ears. Let's paint a picture, Vikings fans. It's Week 1, 2025, and Rodgers is lined up across from some stud receiver. Flores sends the house, the QB panics, and Rodgers snags an interception, taking it to the house as US Bank Stadium erupts. That's the vision, right? That's what this signing could mean for our defense. O'Connell and Flores aren't just building a roster, they're crafting a story. Rodgers is the next chapter, a guy who could go from unsung hero in Philly to Vikings legend in Minnesota. With Flores' schemes and O'Connell's leadership, the stage is set for something epic. Are you buying the hype yet, Skull Nation? But here's the suspense. Will it happen? Rodgers has to prove it in camp, win the job, and stay healthy. The potential's there, but the NFL's unpredictable. Vikings fans, what's your biggest hope for Rodgers this season? Drop it in the comments. Let's dream big together. Alright, let's talk numbers, because Vikings news isn't complete without some stats to chew on. Rodgers started 9 games for the Colts in 2022, snagging 3 passes defensed and a forced fumble. Small sample size, sure, but it's a taste of what he can do when he's on the field. Last year in Philly, just 3 starts, but he made noise in the playoffs, clutch moments that Flores clearly noticed. Compare that to our current crew. Murphy Jr. had a Pro Bowl year in 2024, while Blackman and Okudah are still finding their footing. Rodgers brings a different flavor, speed, and coverage skills that could elevate our secondary to elite status. If he hits his incentives and pushes that $15 million deal to the max, we'll know he's balling out. What do you think, fans? Does he cash in big? Here's the stat that matters most. Flores' defenses thrive on turnovers, and Rodgers has the tools to create them. Vikings faithful, imagine our secondary with Murphy and Rodgers locking down the boundary. How many picks are we snagging in 2025? Throw your guesses in the comments. Let's shift gears. Why does this signing matter to us, the fans? Because it's proof the Minnesota Vikings aren't messing around. O'Connell and Flores are playing chess while other teams are playing checkers, snagging undervalued talent like Rodgers and trusting their system to make it work. That's the kind of team we've been begging for, right? This isn't about one player, it's about the culture. From Harrison Smith's return to Metellus' rise, and now Rodgers' arrival, the Vikings are building a defense that's gritty, smart, and relentless. Flores' fingerprints are all over this, and O'Connell's backing him 100%. Skull Nation, doesn't that make you proud to wear the purple? So what's the fan vibe? Excitement, anticipation, maybe a little nervous energy because we've been burned before. But this feels different. Vikings fans, are you all in on the Rodgers hype train? Or are you waiting to see it on the field? Let's get that debate popping in the comments. Time to dream big, Vikings Nation. What's the ceiling for Isaiah Rodgers? If Flores unlocks his full potential, we could be talking about a guy who racks up 5+ interceptions, shuts down top receivers, and becomes a household name by playoff time. That's the kind of impact O'Connell's hinting at with that every down label. Picture this. Late in the season, we're battling the Packers at Lambeau, and Rodgers stones their WR1 on a crucial 4th down. The crowd goes silent, the Vikings sideline erupts, and Flores just nods like he knew it all along. That's the stuff of legends, and it's what this signing could deliver. Are you feeling the chills yet, Skull Nation? But here's the twist. It's not guaranteed. Rodgers has to gel with the team, stay healthy, and win over doubters. Vikings fans, what's your wildest dream for this guy? And what's the one thing that could derail it? Drop your thoughts below. Let's build this story together. Let's wrap this up with some Vikings pride, because this is what it's all about. Isaiah Rodgers might have been a low-profile signing, but with Flores and O'Connell in his corner, he's got a shot to be a breakout star in 2025. The Minnesota Vikings are cooking something special, and we're all along for the ride. How lucky are we, Skol Nation? The suspense is killing me. Training camp can't come soon enough. Will Rodgers lock down that starting gig? Will he turn heads and make us forget he was ever a backup in Philly? Every snap's a chance to prove it, and I'll be glued to every highlight. Vikings fans, what's the one play you want to see from Rodgers this year? Hit me with it. One last thing. This team's on a mission, and we're the heartbeat. If you're as hyped as I am about this Vikings news, smash that like button, drop a comment with your Rodgers hot take, and subscribe for more Purple Passion. Share this with your Skol crew. Let's spread the word and get ready for 2025. Skol Vikings. Hey Vikings Warriors, let's close it out strong. This Isaiah Rodgers story is just the latest reason to love our Minnesota Vikings. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are out here making moves that scream Super Bowl or bust. And I'm all in for it. From the owners' meetings to the field, this team's got the juice. Are you feeling it too? Think about it. A $15 million bet on a guy Flores handpicked, a cornerback who could turn our secondary into a nightmare for QBs league-wide. It's not just about Rodgers. It's about the vision, the trust, the relentless drive to make the Vikings elite. Skol Nation, are we witnessing the start of something historic? I need your vibes in the comments. Here's your call to action. Hit that like button if you're pumped for Rodgers. Comment your boldest 2025 prediction, and subscribe for every Vikings news update. I'm not slowing down, and neither should you. Share this with every fan you know. Let's pack US Bank Stadium with Skol energy. Until next time, Vikings faithful. Keep the faith, and let's ride to glory together.